Hey guys, so today we're going to do things a little bit different. Yeah, I'm just at my house, but I wanted to film this video and get it out to you guys to kind of let you know what my plans are, a little bit of the changes, and a lot of things that I've been working on behind the scenes, because I'm super excited about them. So I'm super excited to actually bring them to you guys as well. But I tried to do this in a little bit different of a setting, where, you know, I got my dogs right here and just me talking to you guys, because a lot of it is talk currently, but if there's anything I do know, I'm probably the most driven person that I know, besides my mother, of course. But when I want something, I go get it. And right now, what I want is an 8-second drag STI. So, kind of recap a little bit and maybe fill you in on a little bit of my story as to how this whole thing even came about, and kind of what's in the works right now and what we're looking at coming into 2022 here. But first off, I wanted to say thank you to everyone. Over the past couple weeks, the love and support of the channel and my Instagram has really been humbling, to say the least. It's really awesome to know that you guys are as excited about what I'm doing and my build and everything that comes with it as I am. So, getting into a backstory, okay, this whole thing, this whole STI, high horsepower STI thing started back when I was a senior in high school. And I had a buddy by the name of Dougie Fresh, we called him, and he had at that time he had a 2.5 RS. I think it was a 2000 or 2001 2.5 RS coupe, blue, and he had done a WRX swap, a 205 swap on it, and he was actually one of the first customers to ever use an I-wire merge harness for the GC8 to do a swap. And I remember riding in that car the first night that, or one of the first nights he had it out, and I was completely blown away at how fast it was and just how awesome it looked. And that kind of sparked the whole interest on the Subaru. The sound, the turbo, the speed, the torque, I mean, all of it. It was just, it was like eye-opening for me as like a junior, senior in high school. And long story short with that, though, he ended up wrecking it one night and totaled the chassis by wrapping it around a pole, drifting through an intersection or something, I don't know. Remember, all out of Mexico though. But eventually he ended up getting a 2004, I want to say, either a 2004 or a 2005 black Blob-Eye STI. Probably one of my favorite cars to this day. That chassis is just killer. So he gets that. It was a black on black, so black wheels, black car. And I remember one night on in my senior year, for sure this time, we went out and he took me for a ride, and I'll never forget to this day, this is where it all started. He stops in the middle of a busy street in town here and just puts it up on launch control and launches it in the middle of the street. And I was completely blown away at the capabilities of this car. And I want to say that this one year the DCCD was 70-30, where on every other car, every other STI, it's like 65-35, where you can, you know, transfer the power front and back manually. And he's like, check this out, and he just rolls the knob to the back, and that thing just sat and rolled out, and I was all smiles. I mean, all smiles. And from that point forward, I always told myself that I was going to not only have an STI, but I was going to build it to be super fast. And you gotta remember, back then, this was 10-12 years ago, and at that time, you know, 600 horsepower in a 4-cylinder, especially in a Subaru, was a lot. I mean, that was like big dog status, right? But over the years, you know, we've had 20 years of R&D on the EJ motor, and over those 20 years, we have figured out good ways to be able to, I guess, reliably hold the power, but not to where it just blows up immediately. You know, it's things from different compression ratios to different length rods to different material rods to closed decking to O-ringing. I mean, companies out here have tried it all. So nowadays we're super fortunate because, you know, companies like Alpha Motorsports, IAG, Crawford, Dominic Assia, Get a Dom Tune. I mean, a lot of these guys, Micah from 3MI Racing, you know, a lot of these guys have really pioneered what we're doing, or what we're able to do in today's drag racing community and the Subaru. And that's kind of where this story picks up, right? I took several years off. You know, I worked, I lived in other places. As a kid, you know, it's hard to own a $20,000 STI, let alone now I own a $40,000 STI. So I mean, but you get the point. It's tough, and I'm pretty sure my buddy Doug had actually sold that car just because at that time the payments were tough to take on, and I don't blame him at all. You know, insurance is probably high because he was young, high risk, whatever, but that's not where the dream stopped, right? I held on to this dream for years and years and years and years and years, and eventually I found the right time, and that right time was a couple years ago when I bought this car. And originally I had bought a WRX because, well, I wanted black. I wanted a black car, and I liked the WRX, but nah, it just wasn't for me. And I told myself I always wanted an STI anyway. Well, some things happened with that car electrically. It sat in the shop for a month and a half after I just bought it because they tried to program a second key and brick the ECU, or who knows what, I don't even remember. But I straight up told them, straight across trade, I just wanted the STI. So that's how I acquired the STI. But I didn't spend any time waiting to modify it. You know, it was a used car. I think it had, I don't know, 17,000 miles on it maybe. So not really very used. But it was a fleet car, so it was probably used by a different Subaru dealership as like just a car to commute for their employees and whatnot. So to me it seemed like a pretty good deal. Well, that's where this story starts. This story right now that I'm living today that continues forward. So I want to throw more power at it. Well, the only way to throw more power at it safely, at a Subaru, safely, above 400 horsepower, is to build a motor. So what did I do? I researched and I talked to people and I did as much as I possibly could to figure out how to build a motor properly. Well, that's what turned me on to Outfront Motorsports, and if any of you guys know, I use Outfront Motorsports for all of my stuff. They're great. I mean, they're great to work with. They're smart. They've been doing this for 20 plus years. They know everything from 300 horsepower motors to 1200 horsepower motors, just like IAG. So I apologize, I'm catching a little bit of a cold, but I reached out to them, and originally it started to be a build around an FP green. So that was what, 500, 550 horsepower. So I was going to overbuild it and build it in a 600 horsepower block. And they had an option for 600 wheel horsepower and 30 pounds of boost. So I bought it. And, well, after I bought it, I reached back out and I was like, hey, can we do a couple upgrades? One being the rods. I wanted to upgrade the rods because the rods were the limiting factor at 600. Well, as soon as I put a set of Manley H-Tough rods in there with some 625 rod bolts, that just bumped it up to 800 horsepower. Still closed deck and half-inch head studs, whatever. So, next thing, now I have an 800 horsepower short block. Well, the heads that I built at the time weren't gonna really be able to support that. Maybe they could, maybe they wouldn't. So I actually sent the heads back after I had already had them built. I sent them back to Outfront again and told them, hey, this is my new budget. Let's see if we can make 800. So I bought a turbo that I thought would make 800, which was a Precision 6266 Gen 2 ball bearing. And of course, me thinking, oh yeah, it's gonna make 800, when those are like crank horsepower numbers from the actual manufacturer being 800. I was probably not gonna make 800, but 700 is still fast, right? It's still a good number. And at 700, there are tuners out there that could make it last for a really long time. So I built it, did everything, and took it down to the dyno, and it made 723 wheel horsepower and like 600 foot-pounds of torque at 37 psi. And to me, that was great. I mean, hell yeah, that's good numbers. I mean, right? Good numbers. Well, I played around with that for a little bit, and here comes the itch. As soon as the drag season opened, we were out there and went from like a 13.2 to an 11.0, and then started making multiple 10-second passes. Well, at that point, I started thinking that the turbo was probably not nearly as good for where I'm trying to go. We've kind of already hit its max, and in order to go faster, I need more power. Well, that turbo is just not going to make any more power. I mean, at the dyno, we did 723 on 37 pounds. We threw 40 pounds at it, and it picked up like 3 horsepower. It's like 726. So definitely tapped out. Well, we had already talked about doing a Precision 6870, and what do you know? I went and did a 6870. Put a new intake manifold on it, Corsive Lossman intake manifold, and started doing some street tuning. Well, now we've kind of hit a different hiccup where the cams probably just aren't pushing enough air, or they're not allowing us to push all the air. So we're kind of at a roadblock, right? The car did really good this last season, and I'm excited to keep going. In my head, I want to just keep going as far as it'll let me go, like every other drag racer, right? As soon as you get the ticket and you see that number, you're like, oh my gosh, well, that's a 10.2, I'm so close to a 10.1, or, you know, that's a 9.9, well, now I'm so close to a 9.8, you know, or who knows what. I mean, that's just drag racer mentality. So I have made it up in my mind that in order to go faster, I have to build a new motor, whole new long block. So one of the big things I'm working on right now is a whole new long block. Unfortunately, right now, parts, especially like cams, are hard to get. You know, there's still a national shortage. It's ridiculous. But I'm waiting on parts. Once I get those parts, though, it should be relatively quick. I am at this point shooting for over 1,000 wheel horsepower, and I'm gonna try and do it on the Precision 6870. So this coming year here, 2022, I will be rebuilding an entire long block and hopefully having a backup as well, so that I can be actually competitive. Because, you know, when you're running a 1,000 horsepower 4-cylinder, it's risking it for the biscuit every time you put your foot to the floor. So I'm gonna hopefully have a backup, and I have been working to secure some sponsorships to actually push me to be able to go race and be competitive in a lot of heads-up style racing. You know, import face-off, streetcar takeover, TX2K, FL2K type stuff. I really want to get into that kind of atmospheric of racing, because here in Montana, our drag racing is like bracket racing, and I hate to say it, but I'm just not a bracket racer. A lot of guys out there are, but my Subaru is a lot faster than them too, and I'm pretty sure they're not happy about it, but you know, who cares? Not my scene. But I do want to be racing, you know, other Subarus or Evos or other 4-cylinder motors, you know, Hondas, whatever, in a heads-up fashion. But in order to do that and build, maintain, and race an 8-second Subaru, even just an 8-second car in general, or a 7-second car, you know, some of the fastest cars in the world, they require, number one, a team, number two, sponsoring, and a good amount of money. Well, maybe that should be number three. A good amount of money. And four, in order to keep sponsors happy, you have to have a lot of exposure. Well, right now, I've already let you know that I am working on sponsoring, so one of those things is done. The budget is kind of out of my own pocket at the moment, but hopefully, you know, that might change. I am working on something to try and secure some money. The team part. So right now I am trying to figure out exactly who I want to bring onto my team. And I have one person already, and another one in the works. But these would be people that would just go to the track with me, you know, change tires, check tire pressure, you know, cool the car down, make sure that everything is all up to snuff so that I can go make a pass. And I can just worry about driving it, because right now, or last season, when I go to the track, I'm doing everything myself, right? Everything. So my mind is in 5-10 different places at once, and then I get up to the line and I forget to freaking turn traction control off. You know, like, just forgetting things. And it sucks because that's just a wasted pass. You know, wasted stress on the motor, wasted pass, I mean all of it. So I want to get a team so that I can just focus on looking at the logs and the data and just driving the car and, you know, going back and forth with my tuner. So that part, you know, there's 3 of the 4 that I've kind of already knocked off, and then the last one is the exposure. So I have actually, and I'm glad to announce this too, I have partnered up with my buddy Mike full-time to bring me all the YouTube content and be at the track to be able to gain all the track video and photos and everything, so that we can really get this car the exposure that it truly deserves, that I feel at least it deserves. Again, there's probably only like 85 to 100 Subarus in the world doing what I'm doing or going faster than I'm going. So that in itself is a huge accomplishment. But at the same time too, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know what the game plan is and what to stay tuned for, because, you know, 2022 is literally just a couple days away, and I am diving head first with all my focus into seeing this dream come true. And one thing that really has kind of made me feel like it's possible is you guys, and just all your kind words and the messages and everything has really just given me a little bit of a fire under me to really try and see how far I can truly take this. You know, I have great companies I work with, Alpha Motorsports, Extreme Turbo Systems, those guys are great over there too. Import Image Racing. I mean, there's companies that are really stoked about what I'm doing too. So if you could do me a favor though, just one little favor, if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed, please do so. Like, really, it would seriously help me out. We're growing and growing fast. I mean, I don't have a lot, but one day, you know, we will. I promise you, and you guys are gonna be here at the beginning of it. So yeah, if you haven't subscribed, click the link down below, click the subscribe button, and do me a favor and share this. Share my channel, share my videos, share my Instagram, share everything with all your buddies. You know, help me get my car and Montana and the Big Sky country out there, so that other people can see that, you know, little old me out here in middle of nowhere Montana is doing big things when it comes to Subarus and the import drag scene. So other than that though, guys, if you have any questions or any comments or anything, you know, you can leave it down below in the comments. I promise I will respond to every single one of you. But I am at this point fully invested, and I am kind of astonished to even think that something like this could happen or is happening. And again, you know, help me push it on YouTube, like, comment, subscribe, whatever. But at the same time too, you know, just all the kind words and the support and the love is really helping. So that's a little bit of my backstory. That's a little bit of the future story. There's still a lot of exciting things in between, and I kind of just wanted to be brief. This video is probably like, I don't know, 10 minutes plus already. You know, I could talk forever, but I'm gonna go ahead and end this one out and kind of just you know, leave it up for interpretation, or maybe you can just subscribe and see what's to come, because I'm excited about it and I hope you guys are too. So we'll catch you guys in the next one. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. Here we go. Buckle up, because it's gonna be a good one. Later.